Welcome to our Morning Throners podcast.
I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Kyle.
And we're the fucking Morning Throners.
And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We're the Morning Throners. We're here talking Sansa 4, the GOAT of all characters. Kyle, what'd you think?
This was a really weird chapter to look at in isolation.
I was hoping weird was going to be the word you used.
I mean, it is what it is. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely an important kind of story aspect.
It's a monumental part of her life, for sure.
Yeah.
And a major curveball.
I mean, we get a little bit of like outside stuff, but for that to be like I said, the full focus of our podcast here is going to be.
Yeah,
we'll see
three
what
middle-aged men's talking about, we'll get into it. We'll just put that off to the very end when it happens.
Well, we can't really, because I think there were some hints that it's coming.
Yeah, there are. Her stomach's basically hurting all day, right?
Yeah.
Some of these like foreshadowing things don't give
So
me
what we're
any...
talking, in case you're just listening to the podcast and you haven't just recently read it, Sansa, this is the chapter where Sansa has her first period. And I mean, she meets with Dantos and the Hound, and then she has some conversations. But the big point, like Kyle's saying, is she has her period. So that's what we're awkwardly alluding to.
Yeah, I'll say the other thing too, and I'm only gonna say this from experience. And it's not meant to hurt anyone. But my fiance gets very emotional right around it, and she says that she's been crying like at the most trifle things.
Yeah, Sansa's saying that. Yeah,
I'm not saying that's everything, every girl, but it is very consistent with my life. All right. Other than it being weird, Kyle, do you think it did anything for like what's coming next?
Well, that was what I was saying is like some of these like foreshadowing things are so fast. I like you said, I know you could see it was coming prior, either that or she was already pregnant, which would have been weird.
Well, I think they've mentioned probably once or twice that like Sansa maybe when in the early Game of Thrones was like, oh, once I'm a woman grown and flowered, I'll be able to wed Joffrey. So they definitely mentioned that she's like, this hasn't happened yet. I'm pretty sure. Like,
yes. Yeah.
So just because you were saying she might be pregnant, I'm saying,
I didn't know we were going to get a 6-page write-up of it happening. You know what I'm saying?
Like maybe it just happened off page type thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, we do get a lot of good outside intel here on like what's actually happening. Like everybody's close now. War is here.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
It's knocking on the front door, that's for sure, or the mud door.
Yeah, that's kind of right where it starts. Everything is smoky. There's smoke everywhere.
Yeah. I obviously didn't remember like this detail of who started the fire. I thought it was kind of similar to the wall and where they're trying to burn back the trees in order to see people coming from further away.
Yeah, I wasn't sure either.
I thought it was a Tyrion tactic, and what turns out to kind of be a Tyrion tactic.
And at the end of the last chapter, he literally just said, burn everything.
But that's on this side of the river.
I understand, but I'm just saying, like, the last thing we got out of him was burn everything.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a fire in the next chapter here.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And it's on the other side. So I was like, oh, man. I like even started writing in my notes like, Tyrion's trying to burn some woods away so he can see when Stannis comes. But
that's not really what they say, right? Yeah.
No, Stannis is doing it to try and smoke out the mountain men. And then the mountain men are doing it just to like fuck with Stannis.
Yeah. So everyone's just burning everything basically on the other side of the river. And kind of what we said has come to a head. The mountain men seem to be in full guerrilla warfare tactics, like burning, attacking, running away type shit. So Stannis is burning to try and find them, and they're just burning as part of their attacks, it seems like.
Yep. So they kind of mention it, and then we realize that Sansa is with Dantos in the Godswood. Yep. And this is where we actually learn what's going on, because now Dantos is in all the major conversations because he's the fool, and people talk around him.
Yeah, he's just a fly on the wall now.
Yeah. So that's where we figure out that, the reasons behind each side burning them. Another one that we just didn't mention was they're trying to burn all the grass so that Stannis' horses can't eat as they come up the King's Road.
Yeah. So kind of on the point of he hears everything. He says not only does he hear everything, he's the fool, but Varys knows that there's positions that people just talk in front of, and he offers gold to anybody who's got anything. And he mentioned somebody that he thinks it is and has been in Varys' employ.
Patchface. No, not Patchface. The other fool.
The King's Landing version of Patchface. Yeah, Moon Boy. Exactly. So he's just another Dantos basically, and Dantos thinks that he's been Varys for years.
That was going to be the other kind of thing I got out of this exactly is you get a little inside look onto how Varys is working. Because as of now, I don't think we really knew many of his spies. I mean, we knew this happened, but like here's somebody confirming it, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, we're finding that there's like, it's good to keep those ties in mind too. Like later if Moonboy does something suspicious or if we know something happens and Moonboy's in the room, it's like good to keep that in mind because then we can basically assume Varys.
Yeah, someone's Varys, I guess.
Right. So and not just this one, but like there's other like you're saying. Other
I know what you're saying. The web.
Keep those ties in mind. Yeah. So he's obviously drunk, right? And
well,
he's saying,
I mean,
like, I'm your Florian, I'll keep you safe. Blah blah.
That's
blah.
like, I don't know. It's really creepy.
There's definitely a creep aspect to it, especially
he's a creep.
He's so young and he's always showing up drunk and there's like trying to get a kiss later on. Like,
I think him
a part of a creep aspect to this for sure.
I think him just calling himself the Florian and her the like I feel like that's creepy as shit too. Like
he's like role playing, yeah.
I feel like he did that or she did that.
I'm
though, right?
your Florian.
She might have started. I don't even remember if she actually mentioned it first.
I think she said something like, you can be my Florian or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. He's hanging on to it a little too much for me.
I think in the stories, Florian isn't comely, right? Comely is handsome. Homely is the nice way of saying normal looking or ugly.
Comely?
And comely, is that what it is? I don't know.
Comely.
Comely.
Comely?
And homely.
I think it's comely.
I don't know. I'm not sure. But homely is the opposite. And I think she mentions, well, I think when Davos first like talks to her, she's like, well, Florian was also homely, if not so old or something like that. So like, yeah, not all knights are super handsome is kind of how she convinces herself that, okay, we'll go along with this. Yeah.
All right. So the next kind of convo they get into is about the gods. And because Dantos is like, yeah, well, or I guess she asked, right? So she's like, did he really burn the gods' woods in Storm's End? And he's like, yeah. And supposedly he's going to come burn this up to Baylor too. She's like, yeah, fuck them gods. Let them burn.
Yeah, so she's all for it. She used to think that the place was super beautiful, but ever since Ned got beheaded there, bad memory. So yeah, fuck that place. The Sept of Baelor in particular. But here's the thing is like, where's Dantos getting this information, right? Tyrion told the High Septon to spread this rumor even though he didn't really know it was true or not, right? Tyrion assumed it was true in the last Tyrion chapter, told the High Septon like, oh yeah, he burned the Godswood. He's going to do the same here, spread that. So Dantos is probably just one of the people that got spread to. So again, I don't think it's far-fetched to think that Stannis would burn the Sept of Baelor, but I think this is kind of showing that Tyrion's rumor spreading is taking hold.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I forgot that it was just a rumor.
Yeah, and that was to kind of incite the city and rally the city, right?
Right.
Yeah,
don't piss everybody off.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Please stop killing us when we step out into the street.
Yeah, I think Tyrion concluded that was something like if you're against Joffrey, you're against the rightful gods or something like that.
So Sansa's mad at him, obviously, because her dad died there.
Yeah.
Got his head chopped off, and they're not even answering her prayers, man.
Yeah, Davos tells her to not speak like that, or the gods will hear, and she's like, they never did before, why would they now, basically? And he's like, yes, they did, that's why I'm here. And she's like, oh my god, fuck.
And she did actually say that to him here, too. She's like, sure you're here, but what the fuck have you done for me lately? Like, you told me you'd take me home, but we're still meeting in King's Landing, bud.
Yeah. No, so do you know, because timeline doesn't matter, like how long Dantos has been planning, like how long since their like first meeting?
I can look quick.
I'm just curious if it's been like a week and she's just super impatient, or if it's been like...
No, it's been like a half a year.
I was going to say, it had to have been a while because like that was before any of the war preps, really. Yeah,
at least 5 months, maybe 6 months. That's where I got it at.
So pretty much he just says, I'm talking to a dude. I know a guy. Trust me. It's coming, but things are tough right now, right? It's going to be almost impossible to get you out of here.
But yeah, right now it is. But once my friend gets here, we have a really swift ship.
Yeah, she's saying right now because no one's paying attention to her. Yeah. She even mentions later when she's trying to go back to her room, nobody's guarding.
Like, everybody's got more important
bridge.
shit to do.
Exactly. So she's like, let's do it now. Now's the time. And he's like, no, now's not the time. Later.
Yeah, and we learned that the outer walls are heavily guarded right now, and they actually shut the river off.
Yeah, that's his point, is we could get out of the castle for sure. Like, this is where you're normally watched, but we can never get out of the city, which is basically you're having the Arya dilemma, right? She got out of the castle and is trapped in King's Landing for how long, right? Because I don't know if she was actually trying to get out, but she was every day she would do a round of the gates, right? So like you're just into the Arya dilemma, and now you got Dantos with you, so easier to get found, and she's not going to be killing pigeons.
Yeah, she's a lady.
Not quite yet.
We get news on Stannis' army, what the movement is there.
Yep. So Stannis isn't here yet, but his vanguard is.
Yeah. So the first force. It's kind of weird to just send your vanguard out. I don't know.
I think they're kind of like expeditionary forces, right? Where they try and feel out, find where they can set up, that kind of stuff. I don't think they're supposed to engage heavily.
Yeah.
Well, it's like 5,000, right? That's a decent amount.
5,000 men. Yeah. It's like what Rob went to war with.
He had closer to 18, 20,000. I got a map here. I'm trying to pull it up.
On the map. On the map. On the map. On the map.
All right. So basically what we got is everybody on the other side of this river here, right south of King's Landing. Stannis is somewhere in the Kingswood, presumably.
Can't you just? Yeah, I guess he's definitely behind, right?
Yeah, it was further south, right? I'm just for the people that can't see the map.
Yep. And then the part of the map is for what Davos talks about later. So we're not quite there yet. For now, we're hearing
Dantos.
Did I say Davos?
Mm-hmm.
We're hearing about what they got. 5,000 men and what houses. We got basically everybody who was with Stannis when he was talking to Courtney Penrose.
Both the Fossaways, the Estermonts, the Florents, and Morgan.
Yeah. So Guyard Morgan was Sir Guyard the Green of the
Rainbow
Guard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's the leader of all this. And the banners are Fiery Heart, the Lord of Light, not the stag.
I thought there was like a stag in it. Is that just a show thing?
Yeah, there is a stag, but it's probably hard to see from far away.
Yeah, you're just seeing the heart on fire.
And she mentions that with 5,000, they almost already have the same number they do in the City Watch, and they're gonna have a total of 10 times as many as is in King's Landing when it's done, or that's what's predicted.
But Dantos isn't worried.
He says it won't matter because they're on the wrong side of the river. So this gets back to, we had the conversation before. There's no bridge. There's no bridge because this is kind of part of the Stannis dilemma here. So I couldn't say that then, but Davos is saying it here.
It's kind of like the Ned argument for the Dothraki.
Way smaller scale, but
way smaller scale. They're actually like engaging in like a little bit of like arrow throwing and whatnot. I mean, there's got to be a bridge somewhere. Like if you wanted to walk around, you could walk around.
There's got to be a bridge. There's got to be somewhere you can cross. Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere to the left here, right? So
yeah.
Again, King's Landing isn't this big,
stupid.
though.
Like, huh?
King's Landing isn't as big though. It's drawn larger for dramatic effect, right? Like it's not at the bend in the river.
No, for sure. That's what I'm saying. Like Dantos is pretty, like it's actually pretty stupid. Like, oh, I'm not worried. They're on the other side of the river. Like it's not like the twins. Like at least we haven't heard it be like the twins where you have to cross this one spot. Like,
well, you'd think it within like at least a week's ride there'd be a bridge, right? Of some
so
a decent bridge you could cross.
All right, so you have a week more.
That's 2 weeks, up and back for the battle.
But
I was gonna say, Jeff, this is a drunk fool.
Yeah, he definitely is. He's us at the end of this podcast, drunk fools.
Expecting a genius sentence out of this guy is it's a reach.
But what he's saying is they need ships, and Sansa says he has ships, more than we do.
Yeah.
Like, bad point, Davos, and he's like, yeah, but they got to go around Macy's Hook here. So that's kind of why we brought this map up. The ships do have a longer way to go to get to King's Landing than the foot do. So Davos has a point. Stannis does have a big fleet. You don't know. Theoretically, you don't need them to get the army across if you could march to a bridge or something, but you think you'd still want the ships there at some point. They got a long way to go.
So what are they going to do? Create a ship bridge to get the people on the land over? Or just give them rowboats?
I think they literally have like a ton more ships. So I think the idea would be win the battle on the water, and then you basically can do whatever you want. Ferry them up, use your entire ship to ferry people across or something.
People from the wall could still be like shooting stuff. They got...
Yeah, but I mean, if you have a lot of ships and you're ferrying all of them, I don't know.
I was going to say, It sounds like they have enough ships that they could just park them next to each other and you just walk across.
And make a ship bridge. So she's been having nightmares recently about the mob attack. Just kind of remembering what happened and like what would happen to her if the Hound didn't save her.
Dante's basically just like, you gotta wait. When my friend returns to the city, everything will be fine. We'll be out of here in no time then.
Yeah. So that's when she mentions her nightmares, right? And about the city being sacked. They kind of talk about the last time it was sacked. The Lannisters went wild on the city.
And she says and then like they opened their doors willingly. Like there was no battle. They just like opened, let the army in, and the army still sacked everybody. Here, they're going to be trying to stop them. It's going to be even worse.
No mercy.
Right. Which is pretty wild. Like the Lannisters are just kind of accepted for like their countrymen. No,
I think we've seen the Lannisters prove that they're not above this kind of stuff. Yeah.
I mean, it should be, you would think that'd be like a big black mark on their family reputation though, is like,
well, I'm sure the army is a reflection of the generals, but it's not Tywin or Jamie running in here and raping people, right? It's their men doing it. So yes, they allow
Wasn't
but
it
it's
Tywin?
not them doing it. Well, it was Tywin's men, but I don't think Tywin is like in the streets raping people. You know, that's my point. So it does, not that it doesn't hurt their name, but it's not quite the same.
Yeah, I mean, it's still their men. It's still, their orders.
Guilty
whatever.
to association. Yeah. He says, like, if it wasn't for you and Joffrey, like, I'd have to be out there with everybody else, like, in this battle.
Yeah.
I'm a fool. Thank God. Like, I should kiss Joffrey's feet.
Thank
like,
God
don't do
Joffrey
that.
made me a fool.
She's like, don't do that, or he'll make you a knight again if you thank him for making you a fool.
And this is when he goes creep mode again.
Yeah, he's like, oh, you're so smart. And she's like, they say I'm stupid. And he's like, well, that's good. This is actually a good point by Dantos. Not quite true, though. Right, so he says, it's good to be stupid because then nobody looks out for you. No one suspects anything of you. Like, look at Lolly's, Stokeworth, the half-wit. Nobody pays any attention to her. But we just learned a couple of chapters ago, Varys is paying at least some attention because her handmaid is filching jewels. So Varys is paying attention to Lolly Stokeworth's handmaid. So
it's kind of a weird comment for me. I even put it down. Like, why would he just bring up Lady Tanda's daughter? Like, I feel like it was pretty random.
He's saying nobody cares about, like, nobody thinks they're ever up to anything. So it's good to think you're shit. I think it's a good point, but I just don't think that.
Yeah. I think it's a good point too. I just thought it was pretty, for him to say that name. I don't know. Like, he could have said himself or Moonboy, but
yeah, I guess.
I mean, he already did though. Yeah, I feel like this is another.
Yeah. I just thought it was a kind of a random. So she heads back to her room and ends up not wanting to go into her room. So she heads to the roof.
A little claustrophobic or something, yeah.
Up there, she starts looking at the fires and down to the city and blah, 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 blah.
The three whores, is that the catapult?
The three whores. And then a shadow almost pushes her off. I thought it was Shadow Baby Part 3.
Well, a pain in her belly made her like almost like stumble. Yeah. And a shadow.
So this is the first part where I said that she was having her period symptoms. And I think at this point she was crying a lot. Like, she mentioned crying.
Yeah, it was one of the first things. She blamed it on the smoke, but yeah. Anyway.
Yep. So she stumbles. The hound catches her.
It is weird that he calls her the hound of shadow, right?
Yeah.
Like, we've seen a lot of weird shit with shadows lately. That's kind of weird referring to it.
It's a trigger. It's a trigger word right now. So, I mean, the hound just starts hounding on her, right? Just, what the hell are you doing, little bird? Are you jumping?
You think you got wings, or are you trying to wind up like your crippled brother?
He's just a savage. She's got no filter.
She does. I was thinking, like, is he drunk? But she never says he's drunk.
I felt the same thing. He does seem kind of on the edge here.
Well, he does drink.
He does drink a lot.
Yeah, well, that was the first time they hung out. He was drunk, right?
But she normally mentions when she can tell somebody's drunk. Like, she mentioned Dantos was drunk, and it was confusing me because I thought for a second, like, wait. Like, when I was halfway through the hound conversation, I was like, did she ever say that? And I went back and I looked, and I don't think she does.
No, she doesn't mention.
I'm not saying he's not drunk, but she doesn't explicitly say it, which leads me to think he's not drunk. Or not super drunk, at least.
Or at least she's not close enough to him to smell it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of banter. I didn't take many notes on the actual conversation. He's just kind of being his normal self and being awful. The next thing I have is she remembers how the hound saved her. Like,
that's pretty much. She won't look at him, and he's like, "Well, you were looking happy to see me the other day. Like, why are you doing this now?" And then that's when, like you said, he kind of goes back into the whole, like, I saved your ass out of there.
I should have come to you after,
she said haltingly,
to thank you for saving me. You were so brave.
Brave.
His laugh was half a snarl.
A dog doesn't need courage to chase off rats. They had me 30-1, and not a man of them dared face me.
She hated the way he talked, always so harsh and angry.
Does it give you joy to scare people?
No, it gives me joy to kill people.
His mouth twitched.
Wrinkle up your face all you like, but spare me this false piety. You are a High Lord's get. Don't tell me Lord Eddard Stark of Winterfell never killed a man.
That was his duty. He never liked it.
Is that what he told you?
Clegane laughed again.
Your father lied. Killing is the sweetest thing there is.
He drew his longsword.
Here's your truth. Your precious father found that out on Baelor's steps. Lord of Winterfell, Hand of the King, Warden of the North, the mighty Eddard Stark, of a line 8,000 years old. But in Payne's blade went through his neck all the same, didn't it? Do you remember the dance he did when his head came off his shoulders?
Sansa hugged herself, suddenly cold.
Why are you always so hateful? I was thanking you.
Just as if I was one of those true knights you love so well. Yes. What do you think a knight is for, girl? You think it's for taking favors from ladies and looking fine in gold plate? Knights are for killing.
He laid the edge of his longsword against her neck, just under her ear. Sansa could feel the sharpness of the steel.
I killed my first man at 12. I've lost count of how many I've killed since then. High lords with old names, fat rich men dressed in velvet. Knights puffed up like bladders with their honors. Yes, and women and children too. They're all meat, and I'm the butcher. Let them have their lands and their gods and their gold. Let them have their sirs. So long as I have this,
he said, lifting the sword from her throat.
There's no man on earth I need fear. And then Sansa starts thinking about
the mountain.
And somebody else.
The man across the river.
She should have been smart and been like, aren't you just scared of the fire if she really wanted to get after him?
Yeah. But I feel like this is the second time somebody's basically had this conversation with Sansa. Didn't Littlefinger tell her something like this? Now, somebody else told her something like this. That maybe it was the Hound already. He told her that life isn't all songs.
Yeah, I think when he brought her back from the tourney.
The Dantos the first. Maybe when he brought her back from the tourney, or he met her on the way back from Dantos one other time.
Yeah. I think it was the tourney because she was like all up it and like Sir Loras is the god. He's the best knight I've ever seen. He's the greatest.
I thought it was after Ned died though, because he's like, I don't know, maybe not though. But yeah, she's basically had this lesson before. Like, it's not all fun and games. Knights aren't what you think they are. Knights kill people. That's the point. Yeah,
like they might look good in their tourney shit, but when it's war, they're going to be out there hacking people.
Yeah, and bravery and courage is all nice and great, but it doesn't matter if you get your head nicked off at the front of Baylor's steps at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. So she does ask if he's scared of the people across the river, and he just kind of replies, "Cowards fight with fire."
Yep.
And now they get into the gods talk again, where I think he just goes into more about like.
Well, he kind of sides with her. He's like, "What gods?"
Right, but then she kind of defends them too.
Yeah. It's the opposite of her previous.
Yeah, she's changed her mind very quickly.
The gods who made. Well, she wasn't super anti-gods before, I don't think. She just was okay with the sept getting burned because it was a bad memory for her. I don't think she was ever.
Well, I mean, she does say like they never listen to me anyway.
You're right.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's saying that she believes in them. They just don't listen to her.
Yeah, I
guess they're just not listening. But
yeah, so the Hound gets kind of harsh with her. He's like, if there are gods, why would they make imps like Tyrion and half-wits like Lollies?
Yeah, Lollies gets another shout out.
He says, if there are gods, they made sheep so wolves could eat mutton, and they made weak for the strong to play with, which is pretty harsh.
You're terrible.
True knights protect the weak.
And he says, there are no true knights, no more than our gods.
I mean, he is being super harsh to this young gal.
If you can't protect yourself, die or get out of the fucking way of those who can. Which, again, the Hound has a pretty harsh outlook on life, but this outlook will probably get you further than Sansa's outlook would. Especially if you're not a high lady who doesn't have anything to worry about her whole life. Not that Sansa doesn't have anything to worry about, but like that's kind of what she was raised for. Is like have a kind of a cushy life, not really have any troubles, just be nice and everything will be good. Like put your smile on. And he's like, that's not how this shit goes. You gotta stand up for yourself.
I've been there. Yeah, it's a little different.
So she gets upset, she leaves, and she thinks to herself, like, he's lying. Like, all the stories can't be lies.
Yeah.
All the great stories about the beautiful knights. But she goes to sleep, has another nightmare about the mob, and this time she gets taken down and just stabbed in her stomach a lot. And she can see the bloody
twisting up them guts.
Yep.
Intestines trailing her. And she awakes to some stickiness going on in her legs.
Sticky thighs. Yep.
And she freaks.
And at first she thinks the dream came true.
She's like, wow, they actually stabbed me.
She scrambles out of bed and then she realizes what actually happened, and she doesn't seem much more happy with this realization because she's putting it all together in her head real quick, like, oh fuck, this means
now I'm gonna have to marry Joffrey.
Yeah, I'm fair game for Joffrey now.
I'm gonna have to bear his children.
Does her best to try and cover it. Washes herself up, tries to burn everything. Well, first she cuts the stain out of the sheet, which is a really dumb first step. I would have just thrown the whole sheet straight into the fire.
Yeah,
right?
like I was thinking the same thing. Like they come in and they're like, why did you cut a hole into your
She's just in a panic, so she's just like going through everything. She doesn't even realize to start cleaning the bed till she washes herself and it's like, oh fuck, they're gonna notice that the water's pink, and then she's like, oh fuck, they're gonna notice the bed. And it's like, cut it out.
I mean, even
like, this is so obvious. You're gonna notice the hole. Stick it all in the fire.
I mean, I was even thinking too, like, burn it. Like, you got to burn it, get rid of it. But then they still come back in, and there's no sheet.
Like, why is there so much smoke coming from Sansa's room?
Or they're like, why is there no sheet? Like, you just don't need.
Yeah. Or the mattress. Like, what happened to
Or
everything?
your feather bed. Like, you were sleeping on the ground last night. Like, she had no shot to hide this.
That good feather bed shit.
And she smoked it out, and the three bedmaids come in, just rat her out.
Yep. I thought this was a really weird quote. Her own body had betrayed her to Joffrey, unfurling a banner of Lannister crimson for all the world to see. Kind of a weird quote, but
yeah.
I mean, what do you mean? That's what happened. Her body did betray her.
I mean, we get it, George. You don't have to give me poetic symbolism on this girl's bloody period legs.
Okay,
was kind of my point.
I see your side there. Yeah.
But yeah.
All right, so they get her cleaned up, and they're like, "All right, take her to Cersei."
We have somebody you need to see.
Yeah.
Cersei is super open. Like, is Cersei drunk? Is everybody Sansa's talking to drunk? Like, Cersei kind of spills a lot of information here.
The whole country wakes up and drinks wine at breakfast.
I guess. But...
So they're just all kind of like functioning alcoholics once they're old enough to drink.
Yeah.
I was going to say that about the Hound after that conversation was that he does really seem drunk, especially with the sword to the neck kind of thing, the threatening her and like.
What if that actually scared her off the ledge? Like him pulling his sword, she flinched, like tripped backwards.
Well, also every time we've seen him have like a conversation with her like that. Like most of the time, like when he saved her from the ride, he just like get the little bird back to her cage. Like that's all he says. But like when he's like having a conversation like that, like you're saying, it's after the tournament. He's wasted. It's after Davos. She's wasted. Like normally when he's giving her like these really hard, wake the fuck up, girl speeches, he's wasted. So it makes sense, but we never hear it. So
Dantes.
You know what they say about people who assume.
Said Davos again.
Make an ass out of you and me. He said that so many times.
Okay.
He said it to me yesterday when he was like telling me about the chapter. And he was like, "Yeah, there's some Davos shit going on." I'm like, who? Like Davos and Sansa? That doesn't make sense. All right. So Cersei's eating her breakfast and she's like, "Oh, come sit down. Like, are you hungry? Come eat my stuff." And she's like, "Nope, queasy, not
Hard
eating."
pass. Yep.
So they just talk about kind of the process of what happened and how messy it was.
Well, Cersei's like, "We got enough fucking fires in the city. I don't need you burning the fucking Red Keep down. Like, what the fuck's up with that?" She's like, "The blood scared me." And Cersei's like, "The blood is the seal of your womanhood." She's like, "Your mom should have prepared you. Like, what the fuck? This is just your first flowering. Nothing more.
Well,
nothing more.
it's her fault. She took her away from him.
Exactly. It's like, why did your mom not prepare you for this? Like, oh, you've been away from your mom for like 2 years. Okay.
And your Septim Ordained
heads on the wall.
Septim's head got chopped off.
They cut the sex ed classes here in the city, apparently.
Sansa just says it was messy, and she thought it'd be more magical. And Cersei has a funny quote.
Everything's fucking messy. Being a woman is mess.
Wait till you birth a child. Yeah.
She said 9 parts mess to 1 part magic, and even that magic part's pretty fucking messy.
Yeah.
Turn out the messiest. The magic turns the messiest.
It isn't quite the same, but I remember like when I like, however old I was, when I like started sweating a lot, like when I had to start wearing deodorant, I went to my dad and I was like, "When does this stop?" Like I thought puberty was like a thing that like you went through and then it was over and you went back to like
not smelling anymore,
sweating or anything. I was like, "Dad, I'm so tired of this. When does it stop?" I'm so tired of being sweaty when I go outside and it's humid. He's like, it doesn't stop. It gets worse.
Welcome to the rest of your life.
He's like, it just gets worse.
You were the smelly 5th grader that didn't know how to shower.
No, I hated like having to do that shit all the time, or else I did stink. That's why I was like, dude, I hate putting this deodorant on.
Dude, the locker, like
in gym class, like you can't go too hard, or you're just gonna stink the rest of the day.
Well, yeah, especially in middle school because you weren't showering,
Even
right?
in high school, we didn't shower afterwards in gym class.
Yeah, that's true. Locker.
We had to. That's so weird.
Wow, that's weird.
We did for football. So I showered with dudes before, but
they didn't even give you enough time, right? So like they're like, "All right, gym's over," and then it was like bell rings and you had to go to your next class.
Well, that was always the worst part, yeah.
But so lockers were alphabetical, so I was always next to this same kid my whole career, 6th grade on.
And he had a big dick than you, so you just always
no, not at gym class. I'm saying the actual locker.
Okay. Oh, gotcha. In the hallways.
In the hallways, and he was one of them. Like he didn't know that he smelled, and it was bad. And then he found Axe body spray and just tried to Axe it away.
The Axe effect.
It just didn't help.
Yeah, sometimes
that's like Axe had to like rebrand their entire like
away from like the 12-year-old boys.
Yeah, exactly. Because it was like just turned into that where it was like you knew that if you smelled axe, it was just somebody that put way too much on.
All right, so Cersei's like, all right, do you know what all this means? She's like, yeah, I get to wed Joffrey now and have his children, and she's like, man, you don't seem as excited about that anymore. You used to be all pumped up.
But this is again where Cersei's kind of being kind of truthful.
She's like, I kind of understand. Yeah, he's kind of a little piece of shit, huh?
Yeah.
My son kind of sucks.
She's like, even his birth was difficult. It took over a day and a half.
I thought Robert was going to hear me scream.
I screamed so loud Robert was going to hear me in the Kingswood. Exactly. So that's where all the Mountains men are now. They're fucking far away. And Sansa's like, what the fuck? He wasn't with you?
He wasn't there?
And Cersei's like, no, their real dad was.
Yeah.
What did you mean by the Mountains men?
The Mountain men, like Tyrion's
the Mountain
guys.
Men are,
the Mountain men. Okay, yeah. The Clansmen.
Clansmen. Yep.
We have a character named the Mountain. I'm sorry.
I see why that's confusing. Yeah.
And that's pretty shocking that Robert. I mean, it's not crazily shocking. He probably thought he was doing the right thing. Like, I'm going to go get her this great deer.
I mean, I'm sure there's a decent, maybe not decent. There's a percentage of guys who get really nervous and would rather be somewhere else, and maybe a percentage of women who wouldn't mind it. You know what I mean? Who like, I don't need your anxiousness. Like,
it sounds like an awful relationship.
Haven't you ever been like, I don't need your anxiousness near me. Like, get away from me. Like, I'm anxious enough. Get the fuck out of here. I
feel that statement, Nelson.
I can't imagine I feel there's a lot of tension in that room. I don't know, but like, I can't imagine not being at my own child's birth. But I don't think it's ridiculous to see how there's a percentage of people that like maybe a 5% people do this.
I mean, that's like a crazy minority, 5%.
Sure, but yeah. What were you saying, Kyle? I didn't hear what you said.
This was what he did all the time. This is what got him killed, right? He was running from problems to go hunt. That was what he always did.
Pretty much Nelson every November.
I think Cersei has a good quote about him later. She says, Robert liked cheers and smiles, so he went to where they were found, which is easy to do when you're a king. You can just go to a lot of places and get cheers and smiles. And like you're saying, Kyle, just run away from your problems. Not that you find like cheers and smiles in the woods, but when you're king, you can just like leave your shit behind and go somewhere else. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to her point, she had a lot of people there and the person that she actually wanted.
Army of midwives. Yeah. Pycelle. Like, she probably didn't want him there anyway. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if she was like, go get me a pelt. You know what I mean?
Jaime being the actual father shows you like what I'm going to kill you if you try and take me away from here.
Exactly. Because you're saying that they tried to tell Jaime he wasn't allowed in and he says, I'd like to see who's going to fucking keep me out.
Yeah. So.
Which. You mentioned that the real dad was in the room and she told him that, but she does not actually explicitly say that
she
here.
She doesn't, but she fucking hints at it big time.
She literally, one of the last things she says, though, is Robert's trueborn son and heir. So I agree.
She kind of scoffs at it,
I took it as sarcastic, as like almost sarcastic statement.
A half smile flickered across the queen's face.
Fair enough.
And I honestly think that the reason Cersei's being like this is because she thinks that they're fucked. Like, she thinks that they're kind of...
Oh, she definitely does, because she even says, Lord Stan... Make sure you tell him a good lie, because he's not going to like the one where you love Joffrey.
Yeah, so like I think she 100% thinks they're fucked. And like the only time we've seen her really be this open before, except for with Tyrion, was with Ned when he calls her out for it. And I think at that point she knew either I'm fucked or he's fucked. Yeah, so I think the reason she's being so truthful to Sansa here is because, and again, like you're saying, Kyle, she never says Jaime's the father. But Sansa's kind of the one that made Ned figure it out the first time anyway. Like, right? She's the one that's saying, like, Joffrey will be nothing like that old fat king. He'll have golden hair and he'll be a beautiful lion. And that's when Ned's like, hold on. And he runs to his book. Like, so. Yeah. I mean, Sansa didn't see it then, but and there's been rumors floating about. Like, I can't imagine Sansa hasn't at least heard that rumor.
We see her POV. You think she would have mentioned it.
You're right, but I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. So she was like, the gods won't allow Stannis to come. He's the true heir. We were just talking about this. She half smiles. Go ahead.
I think before that, Cersei tells Sansa why Joffrey hates her and will always hate her. Yeah, there's nothing she can do
because of Arya. It's Arya's fault.
Yeah, Arya shamed him, and now anytime he looks at Sansa, he just remembers that, so he shames her in return, which is fucking petty as shit, but there's a reason for you.
And they also kind of try and say Arya's dead for sure as well.
Yeah, Cersei's like, oh, she is gone.
Yeah, which shows where they're at with their search for her. They still don't have any clue of her.
They chalked it up. Fuck him. So
kind of. I think they're probably still looking for her.
They mention Joffrey as a child around Robert. He was never happy, and the bastards were. Yeah. It's kind of weird that she knows about the bastards being happy.
Like, when would she have seen this? But I'm guessing she's getting this intel from like Barry's or something.
Yeah.
Or Robert's stories, or he's like, Robert might have just fucking told her. Who knows?
My bastard likes me at least.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
that's true. It sounds like something he would say.
And then we get into the Michael Scott conversation of the day.
What's that? He wanted smiles and cheers, so he went to where he found him. His friends.
Would you rather be feared or loved?
I don't think this is as much that quote. I think it was more the Theon one.
She literally asked Sansa, "Do you want to be loved?" Okay. And Sansa's like, "No, I wouldn't be feared."
That's not what she says.
No, she says everyone wants to be loved.
I thought we were back in quote. But she says, yeah, everyone wants to be loved. And Cersei's like, yeah, I see having your first period hasn't made you any brighter. She's like, let me share some wisdom with you. Love is poison, a sweet poison, yes, but it will kill you all the same.
Dun, dun, dun. All right, Kyle, next thing for Sansa, what's it going to be like? I mean, I guess you could even think outside of just Sansa, like what's kind of going on in King's Landing.
Well, I don't think she's getting out anytime soon. I think that whole Dantos thing is still very questionable. He's got a guy. I mean, I kind of emphasized that earlier because, like, that's not promising at all. Everybody says that. I got a guy. I got a guy. But, yeah, so I think she's going to be there for a while. I think Stannis is going to do something to get across the river faster than everybody expects.
Can I remind you of something real quick?
Sure.
It's weird that Cersei didn't bring it up. I thought Cersei would have brought it up. There's like a plan in the works to get Joffrey not married to Sansa. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's told Sansa this because it's not confirmed yet, but like they're trying to get Joffrey.
Was she involved in that though?
Yeah, down
they were
south, right?
The whole point was get the Tyrells on our side for this war against Starks or Stannis or whoever. But yeah, they're like, there's no point in you marrying Sansa anymore. There's a big point in you marrying. I mean, and again, Cersei in that meeting didn't want that to happen. She kind of conceded to it at the end, but she was more for the no, fuck this, we want to marry Sansa, even though it didn't really make a point.
It was to Rob or Renly's ex-wife, widow, or
Marjorie Tyrell.
Right? Yeah,
Marjorie Tyrell, Loras' sister. Yep. So I just thought it was weird that Cersei didn't mention that at all. Like that was like the plan they were going with. And again, that wasn't set in stone. But
well, and she said some very immediate, like the opposite way things, where she's like, he'll never love you, you'll never love him,
but you'll love his children. Exactly. As if the marriage is 100% on. But then she also said like Stannis is going to take over. So again, I'm like a Cersei drunk here, but. Yeah, I just wanted to remind you that because we hadn't said it at all in this chapter, but I thought it was kind of weird that it wasn't brought up.
Yeah, and I did forget about that whole subplot. Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see Stannis at the gates a little closer, a little sooner. I also think this Shadow is going to have to make another appearance here, but I don't know that it's going to go as Stannis plans. I think it's going to there's got to be a time when it fails and people learn something about it, right? Like it can't just keep indiscriminately killing everybody.
Yeah, I mean, also wars at the gates.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, and Stannis is going to be over the river sooner. But I mean, the war doesn't matter so much if he's got this shadow baby, as he's proved twice now. He skipped 2 wars. Remember that right now, or 2 fights.
Let's talk it out, though. Let's talk it out. I don't know if this one works the same. Who does the shadow baby kill?
Can it only kill one person?
Joffrey. Cersei.
So, okay, does it kill
multiple people? Is a shadow baby limited to
like,
one bullet?
If it kills Joffrey, like, do people really care? Like, nobody really likes Joffrey.
It's still going to change everything.
Like, Cersei is maybe a bigger target. Or Tyrion, but I don't even know Stannis knows Tyrion's actually kind of running the city right now. Like, is there a single person? It seems like there's less of a single point of failure in King's Landing as there was with either Renly or...
Yeah, and it's a bigger city for sure. That makes sense, but... I still think if you cut the head off, you're gonna create issues.
Tyrion's already said like their loyalty is hanging on by a thread. So like to your point, like maybe killing Joffrey would be enough because the city's already like let's get the fuck out of here.
The city, right?
Yeah,
like the king is dead. Oh my god. So I mean, it definitely has some impact, but I don't think he's gonna get anybody. I think that is part of the problem for him as well, is who to decide to pick. But the main thing is just something's gonna go wrong with it.
Gotcha.
All
right. Who's next? John. Right back to
Johnny boy.
Still no more Theons.
This looks like a short John though.
And then a Tyrion.
Short John, short Tyrion, yeah.
And then a Catelyn.
Kyle, stop looking ahead. We said you're not allowed to look
ahead. Yeah, Kyle.
What if you got a random person?
This would be the time of the book to introduce a new main character. I would agree. the last quarter there.
Very Games of Thrones.
Hey, don't put it past George. There are a few one-off POVs in here that aren't epilogues or prologues. That are characters that are like in the story.
All right. Well, then we'll see it then. So I think that was most of my prediction. Right, the war's going to encroach. We're going to hopefully get some of that next time. But I guess we got a Tyrion first. Now I know that. But
same spot though. Could still be the same.
Yeah,
or
true.
You could say it's your next King's Landing deal. All right, signing off.
Bye, Kyle. See the rest of you guys in the spoiler section.
All right, later, nerds.
Bye.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Bye, Kyle. See you later. Thanks for hanging out with us. Now, on to the spoiler section of Sansa 4. Boy, what's your hot take?
I got a few things. First one, Sansa, when Danto says, jump right into it. When Danto says,
wow, jumping right in.
Stannis is going to come and burn the sept, Sansa says, I want the sept burned. Good, I want the sept burned. In the show, we don't know if
it does burn.
I mean, Cersei fucking burns that bitch.
Jon blows up.
Big time.
That I don't even know if that's considered burning. I mean, that's
nuking,
destroying.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
People think it might happen in the books. I don't know if that's like a little foreshadow for the sept is going to blow up in the books. I always hope that if something happened with the wildfire in the books, it was more of like all of King's Landing or like at least multiple points, not just.
It's hard if it was all of King's Landing then because like a lot's centered around having the throne. Like if there's no throne.
Well, like we know there was 300 in the Dragon Pit. Like I thought like what if there was like another 1,000 down there that we didn't know about and like Dragon Pit and the sept blew up and like 3 other spots, like just like a few different spots in the city. I don't know. But who knows? Maybe it will just be the sept. Yeah. Maybe Cersei will be behind. Again, I always hoped that it would be different. Like one of the things I always thought with the wildfire was if Dany's story does go the way it does, maybe she does end up going crazy and like willing to risk innocent lives, but not to the point where she's literally just trying to burn the entire city to ashes herself, which is what it seems like in the show. So maybe instead she goes more for just the Red Keep, but that ends up in wildfire blowing up half the city.
And it takes a quarter of it
exactly, something like that. And then Dany has that on her shoulders. So
I didn't think about that at all. You said off air that you thought Kyle would think more into the God talk. He didn't really.
I thought he would at least think more into at least the thing is he gave a reason why, but I thought he would have like more of an idea of like what the fuck is Danto's up to, who's his friend. Right. Yeah. I don't know about the gods.
Right. He didn't mention that at all, which is one of my things.
The one thing he said about the friend was Danto's just like, oh, he's like, that's the thing you say. He's like, oh, don't worry, I got a friend. I know a guy. That's what Kyle said about it. So like he thinks that they're just not even a person.
An actual, yeah.
And I tried to give him a little hint towards the end. I thought I saw it in your face when I said, hold on, let me remind you of something. I thought you thought I was gonna say Littlefinger. Because he had just finished talking about Dantos or something like that. But I kind of reminded him of Littlefinger without saying Littlefinger at all. I just reminded him of the Marjorie Tyrell marriage, which if he would have used his little pea brain for a second, he would remember that's where the fuck Littlefinger is. And that could fit the person of friend who's out of the city, who's coming back to the city.
Right. I thought that was the big hint was friend once he gets back into the city. Like there's only one guy in the city that we know of not being in the city. Yeah.
And the other thing that he kind of alluded to that kind of made me realize where I think he's kind of misthinking is he said something about when I had mentioned Moon Boys and Varys employ, he had mentioned something about like I said like, oh, so anytime you say something around Moon Boy, you can assume Varys hears it. Mm-hmm. And he said, oh, and you can assume Dantos too. Yeah. Like anytime you say something around Dantos, Varys like is going to hear it.
Dantos is now becoming an informant.
Exactly. He thinks Dantos is a Varys guy, but I don't think Dantos. I mean, maybe he is. Maybe Dantos given Varys some information. I think he's basically holding him out. Anything he knows is going to be long term valuable for Littlefinger, and not telling Varys. It's almost like a Varys has Moon Boy, Littlefinger's got Dantos. So each of the schemers has a fool in court.
Well, so I want to say this is one of Dantos's flaws is that he is actually an informant for Littlefinger, or he should be, but Littlefinger finds out that he's kind of selling shit to Varys, and now he can't be trusted.
Well, does he? He just says you can't trust a drunk to keep his mouth shut ever, is why he kills him, I think, is the reason I think Littlefinger gets would kill him.
I mean, that's exactly what I'm saying.
I mean, you're implying that he's been like talking to Varys and Littlefinger knows about it. I don't think that's true. I think Littlefinger says he's a drunk.
Are you going to imply that he doesn't know about it?
And I just said I think he might be telling Varys some stuff here, but I think Dantos is smart enough to bite the hand that feeds him.
Yeah, I mean, he may have just killed him just to kill him because he was done with him, and like it's a loose end that you don't want around. But it's to my point of he's saying that he has a friend that he, is dependent on.
Mm-hmm.
And, I got a friend. Like, when you say that, it's not like a servant. He kind of thinks he's like, chummy with Littlefinger, I would say.
No, I don't think so. Like, Littlefinger gave him a mission, right? It's not like, oh, I'm taking care of Sansa because Littlefinger said, oh, keep an eye on her. Like, what he's doing with Sansa is like a long-term goal. Like, that's what it makes me think. It's not the same with Varys. Varys like, hey, if you know something, tell me and I'll throw you a quarter. This is like before Littlefinger left, he's like, Dantos, here's what we're doing.
I think Littlefinger put him on this mission. Obviously, Littlefinger's away. While Littlefinger's away, he's like, man, I can make this extra coin kind of selling this here. So he's doing it.
That.
Okay. So maybe that's not why he's getting killed. But
I'm saying if I'm Dantos, I would tell Varys stuff, but nothing I think would compromise the mission with Littlefinger.
I don't think he thinks he's in Littlefinger's service. I think he thinks he's a partner with Littlefinger. Like he's along the same like kind of ranking in the mission.
I don't think you're wrong. I think it amounts to the same. I think he might think that. I think there's no way that's accurate, right? That's a lie Littlefinger's feeding him. And I think either way it amounts to the same thing. It amounts to him not telling Varys anything that he thinks would compromise what he's got going on with Littlefinger.
All right.
So one thing along your lines with the gods, we didn't really talk about the gods. You brought up the gods. I didn't really talk about. The one thing I had for the gods was Dantos, when she says something like, I hope that they burn the set, fuck it. Dantos tells her to shut up or the gods will hear. Well, they're in the Godswood and we know Bloodraven,
Bloodraven's listening.
Future Bran, time traveling Bran's listening.
Do you think Sansa's still like the 7 dependent of her gods? Like she hasn't switched over. Like she's going here obviously, but that's the meet with Dantos. Like she's going there because she doesn't want people to listen to her or follow her.
Her religion is definitely the most interesting of anybody, right? Because it seemed like when she went to King's Landing, I would say she's 90% 7, 10% old gods, which even for anybody else in the South is way more old gods than anybody. So she's more old gods to begin with. I think being forced to go to the Godswood, think about how many times she goes to the Godswood and doesn't meet Dantos, right? Yeah. I think you just got to probably give her some more connection to the old gods. I don't know. I feel like at this point, if you were to say what religion is Sansa, I feel like it's probably more like 75-25, 60-40, maybe even 50-50. Yeah. You know what I mean? And especially because she's saying fuck. I mean, she's kind of saying fuck all the gods here, but.
Mm-hmm. I guess really the only one that kind of really reflects on the old gods are Jon and Bran, but they're a lot more invested into it. Like Arya is running around too much, so I think to really think about either of them, she's like faceless men.
She doesn't seem to give a fuck, right? She's off on her own doing other religions. Robb is probably pretty old gods. Jon is pretty old gods. Bran is pretty old gods.
And Sansa wanted to be a Southern lady, right? Like she wanted to be. So she was probably like, to be a Southern lady, I need to pray to the 7.
Well, there's more pageantry to the new gods, right? Like there's the songs and the seps with the candles and the light. Like old gods, you got a fucking forest.
Nice statues and whatnot.
Some of that appeals to Sansa. Yeah.
Yeah. But so there's a couple. I'm sorry.
I just want to continue on the gods along that lines of like, it doesn't seem like the Bloodraven cares at all, but he's getting like full intel on Battle of the Blackwater lead up here. Like Stannis is here, his 5,000 men. Here's all the houses.
Is he though? Like, do we know that he's connected to this non-Weirwood Godswood? You're
right. There's no Weirwood here, so we're not 100% sure. But I would think that there's no fucking trees in King's Landing. Like, think about it's like New York, and you're in Central Park. You're in Central Park. Like, if there's some ancient American gods that have any sight in New York,
hanging out in
Central Park. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like that's an ancient old. And again, I'm sure Central Park is like all the dirt's there. It's probably been brought in from somewhere else, and none of the trees are probably even. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know the history of Central Park. It's pretty. I mean, it's a perfect like rectangle.
I can't imagine that like. It's too original though. Like there's been so much renovation and shit in New York, and probably people have been killed there, and they just had to get the dirt taken out.
But I think Central Park's been there for a long time. Like I do think they might have built around it.
Yeah, I mean, and again, if it is,
like if you go back far enough, I think Central Park exists.
I hope it is. Maybe that's just me being cynical and thinking that everything in the world is fake nowadays. But that'd be badass if it is. But
yeah, I think you are being cynical. All right, moving on. There's a couple suites couple sweets in here. Killing is the sweetest thing there is. Is he lying about that? Is he just putting on a show for her?
He gives her some fucking truce here.
Yeah, he does. I mean, he gives her the hard truth of life, but is he trying to play like I'm a badass type of deal? And I just love killing. Again, so cool.
It's hard for me to think that he's not drunk. I guess along the Sansa lines, I read this theory the other day that was saying like Sansa lost her wolf. Everybody else has this like connection.
Her connections to a dog.
He's a dog. And like, again, this is really the only time their relationship's about to be over for the rest of the next 3 books, right? He theoretically becomes Gravedigger or dies, and Sansa never sees him again, goes to Eyrie. But like people think,
Arya,
a lot of people think there's this big Sandor Sansa connection.
I don't know.
There's a lot of these like weird, awkward meetings. He does save her. It's weird. I think it'd be cool if they meet up again.
How old is he? Just so I kind of know like the weirdness factor.
I think he's younger than you're thinking. But I mean, she's younger than you're
like
thinking.
22
too.
or so. Like he's not like a 39-year-old.
Born 270 AC. So 28, 29, 28-ish.
Yeah, he's pretty old. He's up twice her age.
Too old, for sure. Too old for Sansa, for sure. But he's like 35 in the show. Maybe 40.
Yeah, I mean, he looks old in the show. But he's like us. I mean, he's us. And
yeah. He's my
which
age.
Is still too old. All right, there's another sweet. The last line. Love is poison. A sweet poison, but will kill you all the same.
Ooh, I didn't even catch that.
Well, you don't catch much.
Well, I just stopped thinking about the sweets because Glow's gone.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm filling in. I don't know what it means. Like, love is a sweet poison. Like, is it a double negative? Is that a double negative? It's not actually a poison?
People do stupid shit for love all the time. I feel like this is very similar. I mean, it's harsher, but it's very similar to what Maester Aemon tells Jon. Yeah. Love is the death of duty. Like, love will make you do stupid shit all the time.
Yeah.
It's kind of the point of that.
I have one other thing to kind of talk about. Not really a spoiler. I don't even know if there's anything here. Robert not being there for the birth is really fucking weird. To the point where I almost think that he knew.
Well, to the point where, I don't know about that. I think if he knew, maybe subconsciously, if he actually knew, there's no way. But I think it's probably that Cersei had something to do with it. Cersei was like,
you can go get me a deer. I'd love for you to get me a deer.
Exactly. Like, exactly. Like, our son deserves a pelt from the strongest boar. Like, get the fuck out. You know
I can see her doing that.
And then Cersei planned it off like he was never there. Like, not that he had any problem going hunting. Not that I'm saying Robert's blameless in this.
And not that she had any problem with him not being there. Like, she obviously wanted Jaime there.
I can't imagine that she was, when he was like if there was a thought in his head of not going and he brought it up to her, I can't imagine she would be on the side of, oh, please come. Like, you better be there. She'd probably be like, oh no, go have fun. Like, please, like, it's totally fun. Like, she does not give a fuck. Maybe maybe for Joffrey, the first one, when she still thinks there's a hope. But even at that point, it's already Jaime's. Yeah. She's got to know it's Jaime's.
Yeah, I mean, she didn't let him blow his seed into her at all.
Exactly. She was pissed off at him from day one because he called her Leah. Yeah. So, I don't know. I think she had something to do with the fact that he wasn't around. Maybe that's me being cynical again, but I don't know. I like Robert, but I think, and I don't think he's blameless in it. I don't think he obviously wasn't the best dad. But
to your point, like, it's just like any kind of dad. Like, hey, do you want to go pick out flowers this weekend? Or, oh no, you can actually go or you can go golfing if you want to.
Yeah, you don't have to push them too hard.
Oh, yeah, okay, I'll golf.
But again, the birth of your son is something different.
That's
you think especially somebody manly like Robert would be like, no, I'm going to the birth of my son.
That's my boy.
Exactly, but
I'm going to see my boy. Yeah, I agree. I don't have anything else.
Last thing I had was when Sansa remembers, when he's Shaun of the Hound and remembers the riot, the man who tried to pull off her horse had garlic breath, when supposedly the entire riot was caused by somebody, or was caused because they were starving. And garlic is like a spice.
Yeah.
Like, you're not eating garlic if you have, you know what I mean? Like, you eat bread with nothing on it, or you eat meat with nothing on it. You don't eat garlic.
No, that's not true. I'm saying it's probably a small percentage of people, but you can like roast garlic and it's really good. Just like pop in your mouth.
What I'm saying is, normally garlic is like an expensive herb, right? It's like a spice you cook
I don't
with.
know if it's expensive, but
I don't know. I think the theory here is if somebody's eating garlic,
they're eating good.
Yeah, they were paid well.
I mean, he's Joffrey's.
They were able to buy expensive.
Wait, who has garlic breath? Dantos?
The person who's trying to pull her from the horse. Which again goes back to the theory that this is a whole Littlefinger paid this person.
Yeah. This
person in particular to take Sansa. We know he wants Sansa out of the city.
So you think he was trying to take her out during the mob?
Once he knows there's a war coming, get Sansa out. Like, yeah, he had the whole Dantos plan, but then shit kind of went back.
I don't hate that.
I don't know. Who knows? I mean, we've had theories that Littlefinger was behind this before. Everything that happens is kind of good.
It's a weird detail to put in. It's
everything that happens is good for Littlefinger, right? Everything, I mean, most of the things.
Yeah, Littlefinger wins.
That was the last thing I had. Yep, kind of points back to that. Yeah, I mean, there's Sansa stuff. But we kind of talked about that a little bit. We talked about that a lot more before. I was surprised Kyle didn't get more, but
Kyle's been laying you down.
Short chapter, short spoiler section. No problem with that.
Are we not pushing Kyle enough? Should we try and help Kyle along, or should we just let him ride? I'm kind of in the let him ride, because then it gives us something to talk about. All right, let's sign off.
That's all I got. Yep, we'll see you guys in John 7. It's a short chapter, but
yeah,
I feel like there's a ton of shit that happens in this chapter. John has the dream about Bran being the tree, and he has the dream about Ghost. It might be a long spoiler section for the next one. So we'll see you guys in the next one for John 7. Thanks for listening. Also, if you are one of the people who watches us on Spotify, because apparently Apple's bigger. Either way, rate us. And if you're on Apple, give us a review. Sure, why not?
Yeah.
But apparently you can rate podcasts on Spotify now, like 1 to 5 stars.
Throw us a rating.
Do it. And we'll see you guys in the next one for John 7. Bye-bye.
Bye. Winter's coming.